This is the second of my videos, Introduction to Cryptography. My earlier video gave an overview of cryptography, some of the history behind cryptography, and an example using ROT13. In this video, I'll look at the importance of cryptography today and some additional concepts relevant to modern security. So, why is cryptography so important? It's essential to many of the things we do with computing today, helping to keep your personal details and credit cards safe, to providing proof that a person signed a virtual contract. Cryptography can be used to protect data and helps to provide the three elements of the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and authentication. I've explained about the CIA triad in another video, so check out that video if you want to understand more about that. Cryptography can provide confidentiality, keeping things secret, integrity, proving that data hasn't been altered, and authentication, proving that somebody is who they claim to be. Cryptography can also provide non-repudiation, providing assurances that data has come from a known sender. Whilst cryptography is often associated with keeping your credit card details secure when using a website, it isn't just limited to networking. It can be used for data which is at rest, typically when it's stored on a computer, but also includes backup storage. When data is in transit, such as when it is being sent across a network, but it could also be when data is being moved from data storage to a different system that will be processing that data, and also when it's being used, which often means stored in memory. There are different encryption algorithms that are suited to different uses. We will look at these in future, including symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption, as used in public key encryption. We can also look at how these are used on a daily basis to keep information secure. The key to encryption is literally the key. In modern computer-based cryptography, the key is usually a large number. The key is designed so it is impossible to guess or to work out through brute force. It's usually a very large number. A 128-bit key can take the values of 0 to 2 to the power 128, or about 3.4 times 10 to the power 38. There are other important aspects to the key which will be explained in this and future videos. Kerckhoff's principle is that cryptography system should be secure even if everything except the key is public knowledge. This is contrary to the alternative practice of keeping security by obscurity, where the algorithm needs to be kept secret as well as the key. The words codes and cipher are often used interchangeably, although that's not necessarily the case. Looking at codes, whilst they can be used to create secrets, they do not always meet the needs of confidentiality. For example, within hospitals, they often use code words, colours or numbers that indicate certain situations. They are codes that members of staff understand, but which are meaningless to most of the visitors in the hospital. For example, many hospitals in the USA and Canada use colour codes. One example is that code red is often used to indicate fire. This can be used to inform other members of staff about the incident without causing panic. And this is not, however, confidential, as others can understand the code. Often codes may not relate to security or confidentiality at all, but just a way of representing information. In fact, some are used to make it easier to understand a code. For example, Morse code can be used to transmit information, but can be understood by anyone that has learnt the Morse code alphabet. Some codes are phrases with specific meanings. For example, during the Second World War, the BBC radio station Radio Londres broadcast messages to the French resistance. These were sentences or phrases which communicated a certain message to the resistance. Because these were in code and not cipher, there was no way to linguistically or mathematically try and decrypt them. The only way to understand them was to have been told their meaning, such as through a code book. Ciphers are a secret way of writing or a form of secret code, normally through changing individual characters. A rough approximation is that ciphers often work on individual letters, whereas codes often work on entire words, but that's not always the case. Ciphers do normally relate to security, but that does not mean they are always secure. This shows a program I created using ROT13 cipher. It's a cipher designed to obscure a message, but reversing the code is so trivial you would not consider the data to be secure. For more details about ROT13, see my earlier video or the corresponding video on Penguin Tutor, where I created this cipher application. Links are included in the description. But usually when we're talking about ciphers, we're looking at ways of encrypting data in a secure way. To provide secure encryption, then we need two factors: a computationally complex algorithm and long cryptographic keys. Algorithms should be designed in a way that knowing the algorithm should not allow anyone to understand the message, unless they also know the key. In fact, it's normal for the algorithm to be made publicly available, and having it open to scrutiny by others can help to make it more secure. I'll be looking at some of the different algorithms in a future video, but in this video I'll be looking at keys. The keys are a very important part of encryption. You could say they are key to keeping the data secure. No pun intended. Cryptographic keys can be either symmetric or asymmetric, with pros and cons to each. Algorithms using symmetric keys are often called a shared secret. This is because the key used for encrypting and decrypting the data has to be the same, and both parties must therefore know the key. They share the key. The encryption is performed using a secret key. The resulting cybertext is passed to the recipient. The recipient then uses the same secret key to decode the message. This is fast, and with a sufficiently large key can be very difficult to break. However, it has a few weaknesses. One being that there needs to be a way of sharing the secret key in a secure way. Also, it does not implement non-repudiation, and it's not scalable, as you would need a pair of keys for every two people that you want to communicate together. Or, if you shared the key, then you would need to regenerate and redistribute keys whenever somebody left that group. Asymmetric key-based algorithms use different keys for the sender and recipient. The private and public keys are related but unique. The private key is one that you need to keep private. It is used for decrypting the messages received, and it can also be used to prove the origin of the email, the non-repudiation aspect. This needs to be kept secret. If others get your private key, then they can read messages intended for you. They can also use it to impersonate you. The public key does not need the same protection. In fact, it is designed to be distributed. It is used for encrypting the messages. It is also needed to validate who sent a message. This is the key that should be shared, although you also need to make sure the key is received as intended. To explain this better, I'm going to use Alice and Bob. I introduced these in the last video, so this is just a quick recap. Alice wants to send an encrypted message to Bob. Bob should then be able to decrypt that message and read it. There's also Eve, who is trying to eavesdrop on the message. We want to ensure that even if Eve sees all the messages, then she cannot understand them. Alice wants to send a message to Bob. To be able to encrypt that, she needs Bob's public key. This message can then be sent. When Bob receives the email, he then uses his private key to decrypt the message. Note that both of these are Bob's keys. Alice's key is not needed to secure the message, although may be needed if it's necessary to prove that she was the one that sent the message. We'll cover that later. The only person that can read the encrypted message is Bob, as it was his public key that was used. This includes Alice. Once she's encrypted it, she does not have the key to decrypt it. If Bob wants to send a response to Alice, then he would need to use Alice's public key instead. The public key can be shared with as many people as you want to communicate with. So unlike the symmetric keys, you only need one pair of keys: the public key that you share and the private key that you keep secret. Users can be removed more easily from the asymmetric systems, as you just need to remove their key. Key generation is only required if a user's private key is compromised. It can provide integrity, authentication, and non-repudiation. Key distribution is simplified, and no existing communication link needs to exist, as you can share the public key. The main disadvantage is that it is slow. One way to overcome this performance issue is to use asymmetric encryption to then share a symmetric key. This benefits from the advantages of asymmetric key algorithm, but with the speed advantage from using symmetric key algorithm after you've exchanged that key. The previous examples showed encryption used to keep something secret, but cryptography can also be used to provide integrity and non-repudiation. A hash is a one-way algorithm, sometimes called a message digest or a digital fingerprint. It is used to prove a file is uncorrupted since the hash was generated. A small change to the file should create a large change to the hash, proving that the file has been tampered with. It's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to derive a message from a hash function, and it's highly unlikely that two different messages will produce the same hash value. To perform non-repudiation, then the hash value needs to be converted to a digital signature. This is essentially an encrypted hash value to prove who sent the message. Note that digital signatures and encryption can, and often are, used together. In this example, I refer to data which may or may not have been encrypted. So Alice, who is wanting to send a signed message, first passes the data through a hashing algorithm. She then encrypts that hash using her own private key, and then sends both the data and the signature on to Bob. Bob receives the data and the digital signature. He can generate his own hash using the same hashing algorithm. He then decrypts the signature he was sent using Alice's public key and compares the hash value to see if they are the same. If so, then that proves that Alice must have sent the message. Note that Alice's public key is used to decrypt the signature. This means that anyone can see the hash value. Whereas the hash is a one-way function, it is not possible to know what the original message is just from the signature. So this video has covered the theory of a number of different cryptographic methods, including the importance of keys in secure encryption algorithms and the difference between symmetric and asymmetric key-based algorithms. It's also explained about how hashes can be used to prove that a document hasn't been tampered with, and digital signatures can be used to provide non-repudiation. This has now provided the basis for some practical examples, which I'll be showing in future videos. If you've learnt something new, then please give this video a like and help YouTube to share it with others. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so and click the notification icon to get notified about my future videos. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in a future video.